Welcome back to Bumblebee. I'm your host, Kyle McWaters, and this week we're diving into some otherworldly stuff. Aliens. Top 10 alien sightings recorded in history. Number 10. Roswell. The birth of the UAP phenomenon. Post-Cold War, 1945, the US's first nuclear explosion. 1946, the first underwater nuclear explosion. 1947, the first crashed flying saucer. Local rancher Mac Brazel finds the wreckage on his property in Lincoln County, New Mexico. Sheriff Wilcox shows RAAF's commanding officer Colonel Blanchard the materials, and during the night, the Air Force combs the entirety of the property, apparently harboring 2 small injured alien bodies. Taking them then to Kirkland Air Force Base, New Mexico that night, the very next morning, the Roswell Air Force makes a statement claiming that they have recovered a crashed flying disc in local newspapers. Boom! History, baby! A photograph of Jesse Marcel, the head intelligence officer who investigated and recovered some of the debris. The very next day, the Army retracts their statement, however, and all of a sudden, a high-altitude weather balloon, aka the birth of the conspiracy theory. Nuclear fission explosions, weather balloons. Something's not adding up here. Number 9. The Washington Flap. July 19th, 1952, air traffic controller at Washington National Airport spots 7 slow-moving objects on his radar, a fleet of flying saucers. 2 F-94 interceptor jets take off and become scrambled as each of them approached, radar included. 7 days later, the UFOs are back over the nation's capital as 2 more jets scramble trying to chase it down. One of the pilots sees a bright light in the distance and decides to give it a chase. Quote, "I tried to make contact with the bogies below 1,000 feet. I saw several bright lights. I was at max speed, but even then I had no closing speed. I ceased chasing them because I saw no chance of overtaking them at all." Newspaper headlines around the US scream, quote, "Saucers swarm over Capitol," and quote, "Jets chase DC sky ghosts." Probably not a good idea to just fly over the Capitol without saying hello first. Number 8. Betty and Barney Hill. The first real documented UAP abduction case in history. Betty and Barney Hill, married couple, New Hampshire, were driving home one night from a 3-day honeymoon when a light started following them in the sky. Pulling over after minutes of tailing, Barney got out of the car and gazed into the sky. From this moment on, the couple say 2 hours were lost. Betty's dress ripped, Barney's shoes scuffled, and both their watches 2 hours behind. Thinking nothing of it, they both reached home confused, and after weeks of no sleep, the couple reached out to a psychic researcher who could help them, and under hypnosis, the couple made some terrifying claims. They both, on separate occasions, claimed that they were separately walked into a large metal disc by small gray beings, and continued to operate and experiment on the couple on board. Blood taken, bodies examined, and both of them downloaded an understanding of a star system called Zeta Reticuli. The Hills stuck to their story for the remainder of their lives and remains one of the first and crucial American accounts of alien abduction. Number 7. Area 51. This secret base in the Nevada desert acts as the US's military hub for spatial engineering, maybe even some reverse engineering. The area is named after the geological grid of the desert. Groom Lake, Dreamland, this place has tons of nicknames. The area gained notoriety in the early 90s when numerous claims that workers had worked on alien aircraft and even heard of harboring alien creatures underground. The entire premises is fenced off with signs saying "No photography allowed. Use of deadly force is authorized." That can't be good. Whatever they're hiding here, it's mostly military. The base has been a testing facility for the Air Force and remains one of the most highly secured and secretive bases in America. Remember the 2019 Storm Area 51 movement? Yeah, no one got him. Even the famous Bob Lazar has claimed he was an employee here. What do you think? Number 6. Travis Walton. The horrifying abduction of local Arizona forester Travis Walton. Some of us know the name from the movie Fire in the Sky, based on this exact case and filmed in 1993. On November 5th, 1975, Walton and a number of others from the logging crew were working with timber in the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest. While riding in the truck with 6 of his coworkers, they allegedly encountered a saucer-shaped object hovering about 100 feet away, making a high-pitched buzz. Walton exited the truck and ran over curious. A beam of light then appeared from the craft and blasted him unconscious. The other 6 men were terrified and drove away before returning moments later in a panic to a now vanished Travis. Walton claims that he woke up in a hospital room observed by 3 short bald creatures. He fought with them until a more human-looking figure led him down another room where he then blacked out. Walton claimed that he remembers nothing else until he found himself awake, walking alone a highway 5 days later naked, clueless of what had just happened. It's terrifying. Number 5. Rendlesham Forest. The Roswell of the UK. Boxing Day. 1980. The forest lays between the military bases of Bentwaters and Woodbridge. 3 a.m., 2 military personnel, John Burroughs and Jim Penniston, respond to bright lights in the forest. The radios stopped working. There was a static feeling in the air and an odd absolute silence. The closer the men got, the more they realized it wasn't ours. Penniston was drawn in and touched the craft, instantly electrocuting him and apparently downloading him with odd symbols and star system maps before the craft then blasted off. 24 hours after, the craft returned and Deputy Commander Charles Halt is now witness in the exact same spot. The trees, petrified. The ground, radioactive. And there are 3 large landing holes in the grass. Years later, Burroughs and Penniston still continuously ask the British government for their medical records from that night that they never received. Almost 32 years later and still nothing. Creepy. Number 4. Zimbabwe children. In 1996, a mass sighting was witnessed by an entire school in broad daylight in Rua, Zimbabwe, Africa. More than 150 students and staff were present. There have been tons of documentaries surrounding this case. Face to face, arm's length with the craft and beings, the children, who are now mostly in their 30s and 40s, are still convinced. More than 100 students can still remember what they claim to be telepathic warnings from the creatures surrounding our use of technology and the hazards it has on our planet. Drawings, first-hand interviews, and the weirdest part, all the same story. Same description of the craft, same description of the beings. Director and writer James Fox documents this infamous interaction in his 2020 documentary called The Phenomenon. If you haven't seen this, check it out. I'm telling you, it's worth it. Number 3. Skinwalker Ranch. 500 acres on this land in Ballard, Utah, the most bizarre spot on Earth. Skinwalker, getting its name from the first Navajo people's word for an evil spirit that inhabits the human form. The reports start in the 30s with the Myers, then the Shermans in the 90s. Then, Robert Bigelow, creator of Bigelow Aerospace, purchases the ranch for the development of UAP and consciousness research with the Advanced Aerial Threat Identification Program, or also known as ATIP. Gifted a budget to conduct research, this is where it starts getting weird. 2013 UAP researcher Brandon Fugel then buys the ranch from Bigelow, and History Channel's team of the Skinwalker Ranch series, an entirety of a crew of about 160 people, remain there to this day, conducting experiments and living on the land. Some examples of reports are hundreds of unexplainable cow mutilations, flying discs, orbs, ghosts, Bigfoots, and of course, a giant pulsing magnetic signature buried under the mountain. That's horrifying. Number 2. The Hare Airport. The Hare Airport incident happened at approximately 4:15 p.m. broad daylight on November 7, 2006. Chicago O'Hare International Airport receives a report that a group of 12 airport employees were witnessing a metallic saucer-shaped craft hovering still over gate C-17. The object was spotted by a ramp employee first, then it was witnessed by pilots, then airline management, and numerous mechanics simultaneously. No air traffic controller saw the object on radar. A completely silent 7-meter dark gray saucer sits. Several witnesses outside the airport also saw the object, ringing up local police and reporting numerous phone-ins describing a disc craft hovering over the airport for numerous minutes without moving. According to another witness, the object then shot straight up through the clouds at high velocity, leaving a clear blue hole in the clouds. According to the Chicago Tribune the next day, the disc was visible for over 5 minutes and was seen by dozens of airport personnel. And coming in at number 1, we have the Tic Tac. November 14th, 2004, 100 miles southwest of San Diego, California, the USS Nimitz Carrier Strike Group, which included the nuclear-powered carrier and missile cruiser the USS Princeton, were conducting a series of drills in the Persian Gulf. Around 2 p.m., 2 FA-18 Super Hornet fighter jets from the Nimitz received an unusual ask to help with a real-time world mission. The Princeton's radar, which had been picking up objects for several days. The Princeton's senior radar screen showed over 100 UAPs in just that week alone buzzing the ships. When noticed one of the objects was flying about 50 meters above the water, Commander David Fravor and the Black Aces Squadron described it as about 40 feet long, shaped like a Tic Tac candy with zero means of propulsion. Fravor decided to intercept the object at this point, and the object started copying the jet's maneuvers. Impossible by physics standards today. After engaging the UAPs, they vanished, and the strike group remained active, confused, and awaiting disclosure. Yeah, I'd say this encounter is the absolute best proof we have to this day. What do you think? If you like that list, throw me a thumbs up down below, and if you didn't, well, it's all true, so just accept that they're here, I guess. I'm Comic Waters, and I'll see you next time on Bumblebee.